Hi, everybody. I'm Carole,
And I'm Angela.
and I'm coming to you from Maine, from my spare bedroom slash office slash workout room slash only place in the house where I have an Ethernet connection and therefore enough bandwidth to do this.
And I'm coming to you live from Asheville, North Carolina, and my husband's music studio, my desk, and where we enjoy television.
And we're part of the Brain Injury Association of America's Advisory Council. And we're delighted to be able to talk in this video to you about advocacy, about why it's an important subject for us as brain injury survivors, what it means, and some lessons we've learned and tips we would like to share if you would like to get involved in advocacy. So first, we'd like to introduce ourselves to you. Angela, tell us a little bit about your brain injury story.
So my name is Angela, and in 2008, while driving home from a Yankees baseball game, my husband and I were hit head-on by an 18-wheeler. 6 weeks later, I woke up from a coma with a traumatic brain injury and learned that my husband was killed in a car crash. We would have celebrated our first wedding anniversary while I was in the coma. The way the brain injury manifests in me now is I suffer from neurofatigue, memory is a challenge, and focus is a challenge, so this video should be an interesting exercise in that. How about you?
I had a brain injury back in 1999. Also from a car accident, although not anywhere near as serious as yours. Mine, I was broadsided on the driver's side by somebody going 50 miles an hour, which left me with a brain injury, meant that, like so many of us, I could not return to my old life as a teacher and a musician. I also have the neurofatigue and a lot of sensitivities to things like light and sound that impact me every day. But I think for both of us have found that even though our lives changed dramatically after our brain injuries, being able to use our stories is something that is very important to both of us.
I'd like to share my favorite definition of advocacy.
Yes.
It comes to us from Malcolm Payne. He says, advocacy is the act of speaking in support of human concerns or needs. Where people have their own voice, advocacy means making sure they are heard. Where they have difficulty speaking, it means providing help. Where they have no voice, it means speaking for them. My first introduction to advocacy came from a wonderful mentor, Karen Keating from the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina. She brought me for my first time, a few months after the crash, to Washington, D.C. for National Brain Injury Awareness Day. And that planted the seed of advocacy within me. I've returned every year since 11 years now, and I enjoy meeting with our representatives and officials to talk about brain injury.
That's a wonderful story. And I hear a couple of things in there. One, the importance of mentors, and two, the importance of doing what we can do. That it's about whatever is possible for us. Like my own advocacy journey began actually with a letter. It was about 3 or 4 years post-injury for me. There was a bill that was coming before the Maine legislature that if it had passed, it would have basically stripped Medicaid coverage for brain injuries. Mm. And there was a lot of people that were going to the state house to talk to legislators, and I couldn't do that. It still is, too far for me to travel. So I did what I could do. I wrote a letter about it, and it was the first experience I had using my voice. And I think that's such an important part of advocacy. I really liked that quote that you read because it uses the word voice. And Latin geek that I am, yes, I took 4 years of Latin. I'm that person. I know that the word advocacy comes from the Latin words, it means voice. So it's about using our voice, about telling our stories, because as survivors, our stories have power. And that part of the brain injury journey is learning to use our stories, learning to, how do we tell them in a way that's going to help other people. And that I think having mentors is part of how we learn that.
Speaking I know my own of mentors, Carole, you are my mentor on the Brain Injury Advisory Council. I started last year, and through your mentorship, you showed me doing something new for the first time can be scary and overwhelming, and sometimes you just don't want to do it. But when you have a mentor like Carole, you showed me how to bring, during a pandemic, I love support groups. The Asheville support group is my tribe, I call them. And when the pandemic occurred, we couldn't come together. And I was really missing that community. But you showed me through Zoom how we can continue to meet virtually. And so we do. Twice a month, come together. And it's nice in a support group, you don't have to explain. The thing is when you've seen one brain injury, you've seen one brain injury. There are no two that are alike, but in a support group, everyone understands the symptoms, the struggles, and they can help each other through whatever they're facing. So because of you and the mentorship, we now continue our community virtually.
Yes, and I think becoming an advocate is about it's really about having a mentor. I also had a mentor, Bev Bryant, who she has since passed away, but she showed me what was possible for a survivor to do. She was a speaker and an author and an advocate, all those things that I wanted to be and that I am now. And I'm so grateful for her for lighting the path for me so that now as a mentor myself, I can hopefully pay it forward.
I'm so grateful for Bev because of the mentorship that she's planted in you.
So what are some tips that we would offer to others who want to be advocates?
Well, finding something that you're passionate about is important, and then looking for others who share that passion. Mm-hmm. For me, it's support groups and creating that. But going to Washington, D.C. for the first time, I couldn't have done that on my own. So I have since brought lots of folks living with brain injury for their first experience of DC, and that's pretty helpful. How about you?
I think this has always been one of my mantras: start small, find success, and build on it.
Well put.
When we look at what people are doing, sometimes it can be overwhelming. Well, I can't do that. But you start with what you can do. You start small. Oftentimes, maybe you start local with one little thing. And you have no idea where one little thing, what it can grow into.
So we're going to see what you can grow into after this conversation. If you desire to become an advocate, it's very simple to do. You just have to have the heart to do it. And we would love to hear your voice and your message next time you can.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.